I'm gonna switch gears here now. I promised I would do this. You know, one of the best signs of the economy is rebounding is when people are starting to do things with the things that we're taking advantage of. Does any of that make any sense? Somebody said once that I heard them say this on the radio. Well, you know, almost everything that comes to us, everything that we're involved in our lives, is at one time or another been on a truck. I would go one step farther. I would say everything that we come in contact with in our lives has been on a truck. And John Hausladen from the Minnesota Trucking Association knows a thing or two about trucks in our state. Hi, good evening, John. How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening, John. And you know, you've hit it on the head. If you got it, a truck brought it.
Yeah, you know what? It's pretty much the way it is, right? Isn't there even a song like that? I think there is.
Well, you've heard them all, haven't you?
My favorite trucking song, though, is Give Me 40 Acres and I'll Turn This Rig Around. But, you know, there's a survey of truck drivers that in the trucking industry that is saying that the economy is rebounding and that you guys can see it as it's happening. Does this make sense?
It does make sense. Trucking is an early indicator when things are going well and when things are going south, and we certainly are seeing things beginning to tighten up. And trucking is a good economic indicator because, like we said, if you got it, a truck brought it. In Minnesota, almost 7 out of 10 communities, everything that's hauled in and out of that town is on a truck. So, I mean, we're going to feel it. We're going to see it.
Well, how else would it be hauled in and out if it wasn't hauled on a truck?
Well, some communities have air freight, some have rail, some have river.
Okay, but here's the thing. You can have hardware for the hardware store delivered by air freight, but that plane isn't pulling up at the hardware store. It's still going on a truck.
Well, absolutely. It's that last leg that has to be on a truck, and you were talking about the Renaissance Fair. All those ceramic pots and turkey legs and, all that, the beer, it's all going out there on a truck.
It was on a truck at one time or another.
That's right.
So what's going on then with the demand for trucking, for the opportunities for trucks? I mean, is that still a good profession for somebody to chase down?
Well, it is a good profession, and the need is only going to increase. Right now, we are kind of at an equilibrium where the number of trucks and drivers and the demand is kind of there. But as the economy grows and gets hotter, we're going to need more drivers, and we're going to be facing a shortage. And I want to stress, we're going to have a shortage of quality drivers. You know, driving truck is a demanding, professional, a lot of responsibility. We're not just going to put anybody behind the wheel of a truck. We want them to be safe, professional. So, there's standards that we have.
Well, it is kind of interesting when you and I talk on occasion about, like, the Trucker of the Year from the state of Minnesota, those guys, those men and women who go on to compete in that national contest, and the fact that you're talking about 2 million accident-free miles, 2 million plus accident-free miles. That is a pretty substantial achievement and accomplishment.
Well, absolutely. You're right. Our driver of the year quite often 2 million accident-free miles, and they're not just like sunny, middle-of-the-day type miles.
I only like to drive on the wide-open freeways in the low-volume states only during the summertime. Can I have a job like that?
That's right. Yeah, they're congested. People are getting irritated. We got to keep both hands on the wheel, not texting while we're driving. The challenges are just getting greater, But no, the economy is growing. When we talk to our members, they say this year definitely better than last year, depending on what you haul, much better. In other cases, not so much, but we're seeing areas where there's growth, there's cautious optimism. But what I can tell you, people aren't just adding a lot of extra equipment right now. They're going to be judicious about how they grow their business.
But now, prior to this, and we were talking about, one of the stories here says that the hiring of drivers has increased. Again, you stress quality drivers, quality, well-trained drivers. But on the other side, when things were unraveling, you must be aware of this in your industry, that there was probably a pretty sizable layoff. All of a sudden, whoever it is, especially some of the ones that, use the owner-operators, it's like, we don't really have a load for you right now. So these men and women are having to stand down for a bit.
Oh, absolutely. There were people, on average, fleets decreased about 14%. So if you had 100 trucks, that's 14 jobs that just weren't running. And
well, that's just 14 jobs as drivers. Then you've got to think about the spin-off that goes with that. All the support people that go along with that, and everything else that takes. So, yeah, the ripple effect with there. But just looking at 14 drivers out of work is one thing.
Well, you got to maintain them, so you need mechanics, you need people to do the bookkeeping, the clerical, you're doing dispatching, you have operations folks. So a huge ripple effect. And so I think the challenge is some of those people may be gone. They maybe found other occupations, or they were near the time where they wanted to say, I'm done being on the road. So we're going to have a great need to bring in a new generation, and it's a lifestyle that for certain people it just fits them to a T, and for other folks they say, hey, I don't want that. But I mean, where else can you get in a small business on wheels, basically, live wherever you want, and, have your own business? That's what so many of these independent truckers have going for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Wait, let's say we just, as long as we're talking about the economy and you're starting to see a little bit of a rebound here, and as we said before, truckers are a good barometer of that, because as things start to tighten up a bit, it means things are, the economy's improving. But as long as we're seeing this, and let's say somebody's listening saying, you know what, maybe I should look at that for my business opportunity. Just where's a good starting place for the person who's listening and doesn't have a clue but has a good driving record?
Well, I tell you, there are some great institutions out there at the technical colleges in the state where you can get your commercial driver's license, get your training through them. That's a good place to start.
Doesn't Dakota County Technical College still do a big part of that?
Dakota County, Century College out on the east side of town. You can go up to Alexandria Tech. You can go down to Winona. You can go to Marshall. So there's a lot of good locations there where you can get the training. But I think you made an important point. Good driving record is a place to start. And, so you got to be willing to pay your dues. You need to, that first year is going to be a challenge. You're probably going to drive team with somebody else, learn the ropes, get a record behind the rig. But then the opportunities going forward, they're going to be tremendous.
All right. Well, John Housladen, thank you so much for the update here and for backing up the news and information from this story.
Well, it is good news, and I guess what I want to say on the road, when you see a truck, that's economic activity. That thing isn't running empty. The more trucks we see, the more jobs that are out there, the more people are making stuff. That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's why I normally let them go first. It's like, you guys are working. I'm not. So, hey, John, have a great evening.
All right. Thank you, John.
Take care.
Bye.
One of the other things I learned a long time ago, too, and a trucker asked me to mention this every time that I talked about these guys and what they do, is that when you're following a truck, if you can't see their mirrors, they got no idea you're there. They can't see you. So just back it up a little bit. It's 9:48.